I'm reading that sentence again.
Yes.
Inconscient to our perception is the beginning and the end. The self-conscious soul seems hardly more than a temporary accident, a fragile blossom upon this great, dark, and monstrous Ashwatha tree of the universe. Or, if we suppose the soul to be eternal, it appears at least as a foreigner, an alien, and not over well treated guest in the reign of this vast inconscience. So, many people have had this experience of the foreigner and the alien, and we'll refer to two very well known Nobel Prize winners. They are French poets who both speak of this. Okay. So, Srimli is saying what he's saying is shown by the instance of these two poets. Okay. So now we know the context. So if at all you experience the soul, okay, even then it appears as though something foreign. We can't understand who this person is or what it is, either the self or the psychic. Okay. So now I'll tell you, I'll read out the poems and give you the translation also. Okay. So the first is the poem by Sully Prudhomme. Okay. Sully Prudhomme was a poet in the 19th century, not the 20th, 19th century, and he got the Nobel Prize in 1901. Okay. And the title of the sonnet is The Stranger. So here it is foreigner, but Swami is saying the stranger. Okay. So now he's saying the poem. I often ask myself, he has experienced the psychic being probably which comes up, okay, or the psychic, or the self, or it could be both because there's a reference to both. Now I'm reading the translation of what he's saying. I often ask myself, to which race do you belong? Your heart, he's talking to himself, okay? Your heart is not bound to anything, nor does it find anything ravishing. There's nothing which interests you deeply. Your senses and your mind are never fully satisfied with anything. Okay. So there you are. It is absolutely not affected by anything. It seems that an infinite bliss is your birthright. It seems that an infinite bliss is your birthright, but you don't have it. Okay. It is showing itself in bits and pieces, but it is not showing itself fully. It seems as though it's my birthright, but I don't experience it yet. It's a stranger. But however, you are seeing only ugliness and vice here in this world. But have you ever lost a paradise? Have you experienced a paradise which you have lost? Here, you are ever experiencing a great pure ideal. No, sorry. Have you ever experienced a great pure ideal and served it? What is your real beauty and your perfect virtue? He's asking himself. I am getting a glimpse that there is a world where there is real beauty and perfect virtue. But here in the physical world, I am seeing only ugliness and vice. Okay. So, what is this paradise that you seem to have lost? Okay? But I do feel a perfect sky exists somewhere. But have I lost it? But I have lost it and regret it because my divine disgust with the world, because of my divine disgust with the world. I am seeing the world and its ugliness, but I have seen also that I have felt a strange beauty elsewhere, but I have lost it. I don't have it now because my divine disgust with the world. There must be somewhere an origin of this perfect beauty which I glimpsed. So, where is that perfect beauty? But I am seeking it in vain. I don't have it yet. I had only an experience of it because my my heart is made of slime and mud. Okay, this is what he's saying. My he's talking of heart, but he means the vital. My vital is made of slime and mud. That's what it is. It's full of desires, full of dirty impurities. So how can I get that beauty? Finally, the last bit. But I am myself surprised by the suffering and pain that I am expressing. Okay, because at the same time, he is seeing that there is a There is a consciousness which is far superior. But I am myself surprised by the suffering and pain that I am expressing, because I am hearing in myself a sad sobbing of a divine stranger. Okay, this is what is psychic sadness. Okay, I'll tell you about psychic sadness a little later. Who has always, this stranger who has always hidden from me his true identity. I don't know who he really is. He's a stranger to me, but it's one of beauty and truth. Okay? But I have lost it now. Who has always hidden from me his identity in name and country. From where are you? I don't know who you are. Okay? So this is exactly what Sri Aurobindo said in one word. And here is a poet who has experienced exactly what Sri Aurobindo is saying. Foreigner. Okay, it's beautiful. It illustrates exactly what Sri Aurobindo is saying. Okay? Then the other poem, also the same. He also is a French poet, and his name is Paul Verlaine. Okay, and Paul Verlaine also was a poet, and he won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1910. Okay, now this is probably more the psychic, but the other one that we spoke about, it seems to be more the self, because he's saying, I am not attached to anything, and I find nothing ravishing, nothing is satisfying me fully. You are completely cut off from the world. So it's obviously the self for Sully Prism. But for Paul Verlaine, it seems to be more the psychic. Okay, so I just read out the translation. It's a very free translation. Huh? It's not in poetry or anything, but just to give you the gist of what he's saying. I have often this strange and penetrating dream of an unknown lady whom I love and who loves me. Now, the psychic, when it comes forward, there is love everywhere. And the psychic also is guiding you with great attention. Okay. So, of an unknown lady whom I love and who loves me. And she loves me and understands me fully. Okay. For she understands me, and my heart is for her alone. When the psychic comes forward, you don't want anything else. It's for her alone. And she alone is capable of comforting me to relieve my anxiety with her sympathy. But is she brown or blonde or red-haired? I don't know. Who is? What is her name? But I remember it to be sweet and sonorous. It is something so gentle and so beautiful. He's saying, what is her name? I don't know who she is. But I remember that the sound of her name is very sweet and sonorous. Her regard is like that of statues, fixed, witness-like, without judgment. Now this is again the self. Okay. Her regard, her look is like that of statues, fixed, witness-like, without judgment. And her voice, calm and grave, is silent when all other dear voices have been silenced. All the other dear voices are the relations of the physical world. Okay? And when all those things are put into very great insignificance, the relation with the self and the psychic being is the most prominent. That's what he's saying. So this is exactly what Sri Aurobindo is saying. Foreign and alien, okay, and not over well-treated guest in the rain. Even that sentence is very clearly here. He's saying there's so much of ugliness here. So that purity of the soul and the self is not treated very well here. It is welcomed with great impurity and great falsehood and great perversion. That's what Sri Aurobindo is saying. So beautiful two poems. Okay, so. The French is very beautiful. It's a poem, but as soon as I read this foreigner, and this is the first time, by the way, it struck me. Okay, every time you read it, though, Life, Divine and Synthesis, some new things strike you all the time. Okay, so where do we have to go today to the text? Today is Life Divine, right?
Yes, Sanjata.
Yes.
Page 504. 50.
Okay,
Page
504.
504.
Okay. I'm going to 504. Yeah, we did the Alvar's vision and all that, yes. So, and this also we have done 5, but there is one point in reasoning, na? That also we have done. So, now we should read this, but we must then seize hold of this strange
Yeah,
power.
that has to be read, yes.
Correct, correct. So, Archana Di, you'll read?
Okay.
You have not talked about psychic sadness.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay, okay,
Yes,
okay.
yes, yes.
See, yeah, the psychic sadness is not really sadness. It is the realization, Sri Aurobindo says, when the psychic sees so much of ugliness here, okay, it feels sad that it can't eliminate it. So this is the psychic sadness. It's something positive. See, even when you are emotionally very, very happy, one starts crying, na? If someone shows you tremendous love and sympathy, there is usually a tears in the eyes. So this tears is not sadness; it's a happiness. So that is but there's a regret that the physical world is so imperfect. While there is something so beautiful up there and inside you, and yet you cannot access it. That's what happens. Okay, I'll tell you an incident. Okay, Mm, many people go to Sri Aurobindo room. Not many, but some have. And when they experience the psychic coming out, okay, because the atmosphere is so special there in Sri Aurobindo room, they start crying. I have seen one person who started sobbing loudly in sound. Okay. So that is what can happen. And I had once an experience in the meditation hall. This was many years ago, 40, 50 years ago. I was sitting in the meditation hall at night and nobody was there. And this one gentleman, he came. He was very devotional. His whole family was against his relation with the mother and Sri Aurobindo and the ashram. But he didn't care. He was a very young boy then. Now he's quite old. And his children are in the school. Okay, he's a Tamilian. So he went in front of mother's, that painting, mother's and Sri Aurobindo's painting is there. Darshan picture in the meditation hall. When you go to the second hall of the meditation hall, there's a photo, not photo, it's a
Yes,
painting.
Sangat.
Yeah, there's a painting of Mother and Sri Aurobindo. This is done by Pramod Kumar. Pramod Kumar Chatterjee. He was a tantric. He was here for quite some time. His relations are still here in Pondicherry, okay, Vindashram. Anyway, so when he stood in front of that, he was sobbing. Okay? And someone who didn't understand that this is devotion. Okay, he is standing in front of the picture and sobbing. Okay, that was the psychic sadness. So this person didn't understand at all. This person about whom I'm talking has gone away now. He is not there. He is passed away. So he went over him, started comforting him and telling him, what has happened? Tell me, what has have caused? He didn't understand at all that it is psychic sadness. I was wondering, what is this fellow doing? Why doesn't he leave me alone? So this is the psychic sadness. You feel that, my God, how can this so much of dirt and so much of falsehood remain here when there is something so beautiful up there? There's a regret. The word regret also has been used by this poet. Na? I regret what I have lost, the paradise. Okay, so when you have that experience, you feel that it's a stranger. The world is so full of all these things. And where did this beautiful, pure stranger come? Okay, he seems to be an alien in this world. That's what you feel. Okay, so now let's read the next paragraph. We must then seize hold of this strange power of consciousness. Okay,
We must then seize hold on the strange power of consciousness, which is the root of our ills, examine the principle of its operation, and detect not only its essential nature and origin, but its power and process of operation and its last end and means of removal. How is it that the ignorance exists? How has any principle or power in the infinite self awareness been able to put self knowledge behind it and exclude all but its own characteristic limited action? Certain thinkers The footnote is there, I'm reading it.
Yeah.
Buddha refused to consider the metaphysical problem, the process by which our unreal individuality is constructed, and a world of suffering maintained in existence, and the method of escape from it is all that is of importance. Karma is a fact. The construction of objects of an individuality not truly existent is the cause of suffering. To get rid of karma, individuality and suffering must be our one objective. By that elimination, we shall pass into whatever may be free from these things, permanent, real. The way of liberation alone matters. Certain thinkers have declared that the problem is insoluble. It is an original mystery and is intrinsically incapable of explanation. Only the fact and the process can be stated. Or else the question of the nature of the supreme original existence or non-existence is put aside as either unanswerable or unnecessary to answer. One can say that Maya, with its fundamental principle of ignorance or illusion, simply is. And this power of Brahman has the double force of knowledge and ignorance inherently potential in it. All we have to do is to recognize the fact and find a means of escape out of the ignorance through the knowledge, but into what is beyond both knowledge and ignorance. By renunciation of life, by recognition of the universal impermanency of things and the vanity of cosmic existence.
So this is the first view that he is telling about the problem of ignorance and knowledge. So he is telling you first the problem, what it is. So we'll read each sentence and you'll see, and what he's saying about Buddha also, we will discuss that. We must then seize hold of the strange power of consciousness, which is at the root of all our ills. And what is that strange power? Consciousness becoming unconsciousness. This strange power, how can it do that? Okay, that's the funny part. Okay, so it's the root of our, but that's the problem. That is the root of all our illnesses. It is manifesting itself, and when it manifestation, it is limiting itself. First of all, why does it do that? Secondly, when it does that, is essentially the ill and the ignorance is coming in? That's the whole question he's going to examine. Examine the principle of its operation and detect not only its essential nature and origin, but its power and process of operation and its last end and means of removal. How does consciousness become unconsciousness? How does total knowledge become ignorance? So we will have to look at that and examine where it is starting and where it is ending, and how does it, what is the process by which it does, what is the mechanism by which it does that. Then he says, many have said that the problem is insoluble. Okay, that is what many, the ascetic also says that. Okay, we have discussed that also earlier, and in the third chapter itself, in the ascetic denial, the materialist denial and the ascetic refusal. In that chapter, he has dealt with this question, and some say it is impossible to solve the problem. Okay, you can't explain it logically, but Shibli is saying, no, we can't be satisfied with such a dismissal. We must find a reason for it. He says that in the next paragraph. Okay, so how is it that the ignorance exists when the Supreme, the Divine, is manifesting himself? How does ignorance come in? So we have already seen, and I've told you, I've given you a preview, that the manifestation implies form. Without forms, there can be no manifestation. That which is infinite, eternal, and formless cannot be manifested. You need a form for your senses to detect something. Okay, yes, you are at the lowest level where the senses are there. So something must be there which the senses can detect, and that is only form. Formless, the senses can't detect. So it is so obvious that even air, which is formless, except the touch, no other sense can experience the air. Okay, only the touch can. But the absolute formless, nothing can. None of the senses can touch it. So it has to have form. So if the Supreme is having form, that implies limitation, and limitation implies the imperfections. That's what he's going to tell you. I'm just giving you a preview. He's examining the question. How is it that that ignorance exists? How has any principle of power in the infinite self-awareness been able to put self-knowledge behind it and exclude all but its own characteristic limited action? Certain thinkers have declared that the problem is insoluble. It's an original mystery and is intrinsically incapable of explanation. We'll go back to that. I'll just remind you of what he has said in that third or fourth chapter, where he says that the Buddhistic ideal, Buddhistic philosophy is that you are subject to karma and you have a body-mind life. But when you escape from the body-mind life and go into the second level of the spiritual planes of consciousness, you see that the physical world is unreal. So, Sri Aurobindo says, logically speaking, this is an unbelievable contradiction. Because they are saying, okay, liberation is most important. But when you examine the liberation, you find that it is really a very funny thing. Okay, who is getting liberated? The individual also disappears. The world disappears and the individual is part of the universe. So he also disappears. So ultimately you have to conclude, Sri Aurobindo says, that in the Buddhistic philosophy, the unreal individual is escaping from an unreal world and realizing a true liberation. How is that possible? Logically, it's impossible. An unreal individual in an unreal world is escaping and realizes his own unreality. Okay? So, this is a very strange thing. That's what he's saying. But the Buddhist will answer you, and that's exactly what he's saying here, that, sorry, your logic belongs to what? It belongs to the lower, it belongs to the mind. And the mind is where? In the lower in the world. The mind is not elsewhere, it is in the world. So it is part of your, part of the illusion. All your logic is part of the illusion. So don't try to argue with me. Have the experience and you will see that what we are saying is absolutely right. So what is the solution? There is no solution. At the mental level, you cannot find a solution to this. It is anirvachaniya. That's what it is. That's why Buddha refused to consider the metaphysical problem. The process, I'm reading the footnote. Okay? The process by which our unreal individuality is constructed and a world of suffering maintained in existence and the method of escape from it all is all that is of importance. Okay? You are suffering, right? Your suffering is real. So get rid of that. Don't go into philosophy. It's not important. Karma is a fact. The construction of objects of an individuality, not truly existence, is a cause of suffering. To get rid of karma, individuality and suffering, one must be our one objective. By that elimination, we shall pass into whatever may be free from these things, permanent, real. The way of liberation alone matters. The argument usually given by the Buddhists is, when you are suffering, get rid of it. Don't go into philosophy. And I'm telling you how to do it. Concentrate. Okay? And go to the self. That is possible. It's like a house is on fire. Okay? Fire is suffering. And will you start philosophizing and saying that how did the fire come here? Who put the fire? Who made the fire? Why is it destroying? What is the reason? Will you do all this, or will you will you take some buckets of water and put the fire out? Just do that. Be practical and don't talk nonsense of philosophy. That's a Buddhistic view. Okay, it makes sense. It's a very practical philosophy. There's no philosophy. That's why Buddha refused philosophy. Okay, he says you misunderstand and you will not understand. Also, it's not possible. That's what he's saying, pointing out this, the answer of the philosopher. Okay, certain thinkers he is mentioning Buddha. So, declared that the problem is insoluble. It's an original mystery and it's intrinsically incapable of explanation at the physical level. Only the fact and the process can be stated. We can say that there is an unreal world and you do escape from that unreal world and the escape is real. You enter into peace and calm and quiet. Or else the question of the nature of the supreme, original existence or non-existence, which is really the same thing. That's why Sat or Asat is the same. It's an emptiness. But one is emptiness with fullness and the other is real emptiness without anything. So is put aside as either unanswerable or unnecessary to answer. Be practical. Don't go into philosophy. Unnecessary to answer. One can say that Maya, with its fundamental principle of ignorance or illusion, simply is. It does exist. Okay, illusion exists. And this power of Brahman has a double force of knowledge and ignorance, inherently potential in it. When you are at the lower level, there is ignorance. When you escape from the lower level and go to the second level, there is knowledge. That's all. That's important. All we have to do is to recognize the fact and find a means of escape out of the ignorance through the knowledge, but into what is beyond both knowledge and ignorance. By renunciation of life, by recognition of the universal impermanency of things and the vanity of cosmic existence. These are the methods in the Buddhist system. You have to go beyond knowledge and beyond ignorance by renunciation of life. You go to the absolute non-existence by recognition of the universal impermanency of things and vanity of cosmic existence. He is, in this whole paragraph, he is giving the Buddhistic view, not his own view. Now he will give his own view. He says, is that okay? Can we accept this answer that it is insoluble? He says, no. Our mind will not be satisfied. We have to find a solution, and he will give a solution. So we go to the next. What's the time? 8:30. We have got 5 minutes. So we can read, no? But our mind cannot remain satisfied. Oh, by the way, I should tell you why my system is not working today, because the camera is found defective. So it has gone for replacement. And I tried the old camera and the image is coming on the computer, but the sound is very, very weak. That's why I went on the phone. Okay. Skype on the phone is okay. So let's read the next one. So Archanadi has read. Next will be Yasmin has come back. You are back in Bombay, Yasmin?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So would you like to read?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
But our mind cannot remain satisfied. The mind of Buddhism itself did not remain satisfied with this evasion at the very root of the whole matter. In the first place, these philosophies, while thus putting aside the root question, do actually make far-reaching assertions that assume not only a certain operation and symptoms, but a certain fundamental nature of the ignorance from which their prescription of remedies proceeds. And it is obvious that without such a radical diagnosis, no prescription of remedies can be anything but an empirical dealing. But if we are to evade the root question, we have no means of judging whether the assertions advanced are correct or the remedies prescribed the right ones, or whether there are others which, without being so violent, destructively radical, or of the nature of a surgical mutilation or extinction of the patient, may yet bring a more integral and natural cure. Secondly, it is always the business of man, the thinker, to know. He may not be able by mental means to know the essentiality of the ignorance or of anything in the universe in the sense of defining it, because the mind can only know things in that sense by their signs, characters, forms, properties, functionings, relations to other things, not in their occult self being and essence. But we can pursue further and further, clarify more and more accurately our observation of the phenomenal character and operation of the ignorance until we get the right revealing word, the right indicating sense of the thing and so come to know it, not by intellect, but by vision and experience of the truth, by realizing the truth in our own being. The whole process of man's highest intellectual knowledge is through this mental manipulation and discrimination to the point where the veil is broken and he can see. At the end, spiritual knowledge comes in to help us to become what we see, to enter into the light in which there is no ignorance.
So, very interesting para, and we will see but very briefly, I just mentioned one thing. He's giving a very interesting image. He is telling that the Buddhist is giving a solution. We have to see whether that solution is the only solution or there are other solutions also. Because, and for that, we must know the nature of this ignorance. He is giving the example of an illness. So, suppose you have an illness, you have to find the root cause of the illness. Unless you know the root cause of the illness, how will you cure it? For instance, before you discovered that insulin is the cause of diabetes, diabetes used to kill people. Okay, you didn't know how to solve it. But once you go to the root and find out what the illness consists of, it's like the problem of sugar and the control of sugar, that insulin controls it, and where is the insulin coming in the body from? So then you know the sign, now you have the solution. So that's what he's saying. So is the only solution the one that Buddha is offering, or can there be something better? Because on the one hand, you are killing the patient. The patient is the world, and you are killing the patient. This reminds you of the phrase, operation successful but patient dead. So it is exactly like that. So you have to find the solution. So, and not only that, human beings have a mind, and it is a function of the mind to think. You may not be able to find the solution, but there may be others who can find the solution. So let us see what the problem is, where it lies, and then we will suggest maybe a better solution. So that's what Sense is saying. In the Buddhistic solution is half solution. You are killing the world and escaping from there. But is it possible for me to be free of suffering without killing the world? Let us look at the nature of the ignorance, and then we'll be able to give a solution. That's what Sendri is saying. Okay. So next time we can. Do we have the time? 8:30. Okay, I think we can do it. We have got 5 minutes, huh? So we'll do that. So, yeah. So, but our mind cannot remain satisfied, isn't that? Yeah, that's what we have to read. Or would you like to stop today? Tell me.
Maybe we can stop today and continue the
Okay,
whole
we'll
thing tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll do
without a
that.
break in the link.
That's right. So we will review. We'll see. We'll give a next Wednesday. We'll go back to Life Divine. So tomorrow we are doing synthesis again. Okay, we stop here today. Au revoir, everybody. Have a nice day.
Merci beaucoup.